Welcome in, everybody, to another episode from the bench to the mic. I'm Jonathan Holmes. We had an awesome weekend of college hoops. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check it out or not. Ton of great matchups, a ton of great wins for teams that needed to get big W's, and then some not so great weekends for teams that needed to get W's but came up a little bit short. Just want to give you guys a quick rundown of Saturday and Sunday, what that looked like if you didn't get a chance to watch hoops this weekend. Want to talk through Iowa State on why they're struggling so much on the road. Just give you guys a quick breakdown with that. Kentucky might be back. They're scary. They're scary. I mentioned it before. They're terrifying if they get healthy and get rolling in the right direction. Mark Pope, they won 3 in a row. Talk through them. 3 undefeated teams left. Miami, Ohio, Nebraska, and Arizona. Give you guys a quick breakdown of all 3 of those teams and who I think is going to be the last undefeated team left. And then last but certainly not least, my bracketology is out. Gave you guys my top 5 seeds, who I think the top 20 teams are going to be at the end of the year and where I think that they're going to fall as far as the seeding place goes. And it's all just so subjective and hypothetical, but it's one of those things. It was super fun to kind of put together. I've never really done that before, but just predicting who I think is going to be the top 5 seeds. I mean, I think at 1 is pretty clear cut who the top 4 are, and then after that, it kind of gets a little bit shaky. And I've got it out there on X right now, so give you guys go interact with it. Give me your thoughts on who you think is going to be too high and who do you think is too low on my list, and who would you like to see win the national championship? That's maybe not necessarily one of these call it top 8 teams maybe. Who do you want to see win the national championship outside of that? I'm sure there's a lot of great thoughts out there. So, and then we got some great matchups this week. Going to be at one of them. Some of these matchups are, I think, going to be season-defining wins or season-defining games for a few of these teams. The Big East has some just huge matchups coming up on Tuesday. We walk through all of those in episode 21. We've surpassed 20. We're on to 21. We're continuing to roll. I apologize for the background noise. I think they're cutting concrete out there, so if there's some background noise, I apologize, but want to get this out to y'all on Monday to start out the weeks on the right foot. So without further ado, let's get rolling, man. Let's talk through Saturday's slate. Give you guys a quick rundown of the top 25. All right, first, but let's start out with it. Texas Tech, we go to Lubbock. BYU goes into Texas Tech and unfortunately comes out with an L. JT Toppin and Christian Anderson are just phenomenal. Texas Tech Red Raiders were able to keep AJ DeBonza in check, and were able to pick up a huge conference home win against the Cougars. Florida goes into Nashville, gets a big time W, even though they forgot 3 jerseys at home. Florida managers, double check your stuff, man. You got one job. Don't forget the jerseys. But end up could be a great thing for Xavier Lee. He wore number 99, absolutely balled out. Florida is really scary. I think that they're going to be my pick to win the SEC this year. They're starting to get things figured out, and it's terrifying. Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan, they all roll, take care of business against their respective opponents. Kentucky, huge comeback against Tennessee, where they've actually won 4 in a row in Knoxville. So interesting enough, as bad of a season as Kentucky's having, they still can go into Knoxville, Tennessee and get the W. Rocky Top, got to get things figured out. They've been struggling as of late. Nate Amet, I don't know really what's going on with him. He needs to be a little bit more aggressive if they want to end up making a run here in the SEC. Seton Hall blinked, and they were in and out of the top 25. I thought I've got high hopes still for this team. You get in, you lose to UConn in a close one. You drop one to Butler, which one you shouldn't have lost to. So they lasted about 30 seconds. Bama gets a huge road win at OU. It's their first win at Norman in program history. UConn snuck by Georgetown. Ed Cooley, super proud of having that one win. I think he just wants to continue that trend going. It could be a lot worse, I guess. That's what he had stated in his press conference, but had a close one against UConn. KJ Lewis was phenomenal. But yeah, UConn gets another W. Carolina had a very tough week in California, losing both to Stanford and to the Cal Golden Bears. Hubert Davis might be on the hot seat. I've got my thoughts there, but I'll save that for another time. Um, Struggled against California teams. They can't guard any guards. Don't really know where they're gonna go with this. They have probably the most talented freshmen that they've ever had. They've had a decent roster. They just can't guard anybody. So Duke, on the other hand, walked into California, did super well, beat the brakes off of both Stanford and the Cal Golden Bears. Virginia continues to impress against SMU. They're flying under the radar. They're 16-2, doing very well in ACC play. Held Boopy Miller to a respectable game. It ended up they just do the fundamentals really well. They don't make mistakes. They're getting back to how Tony Bennett used to have the Cavaliers. Love what Ryan Odom's doing. They've got a great squad. So, Iowa State struggled on the road against Cincinnati again. They've dropped 2 in a row, unfortunately, so we break down that here later on in the show. Louisville brought the belt to Pitt. Pat Kelsey said this is enough's enough. We need to start playing like a championship caliber program, and they did just that against the Pittsburgh Panthers. Purdue and Arizona picked up huge road wins against USC and UCF. Nebraska ball continues to roll. Walked into Northwestern, I think had more fans than what the Wildcats ended up actually having. So top 10 Nebraska will continue to stay at the top 10 when the AP poll comes out later on today. Gonzaga keeps rolling. They kept rolling against Seattle U. Got a huge W there after Seattle took them to the wire earlier in WCC play. Georgia got a huge W against Arkansas at home, protects home court. And then Grand Canyon actually ends up upsetting the Aggies of Utah State. So that was our quick little rundown of the top 25. Yeah, it was a great weekend. I mean, some upsets. Like I said, I didn't expect Georgia to end up beating Arkansas. Grand Canyon beats Utah State at home. Iowa State cannot figure out how to win on the road, and Carolina cannot figure out how to guard guards. So I think that's what's going to be into Carolina's downfall throughout the rest of this year. I don't know how they're going to match up against Duke when they end up playing these guys, or Louisville for that fact. But yeah, we'll end up seeing what happens. That was our quick little rundown of the top 25. But now, yeah, we're gonna dive into our 3 remaining unbeatens. I had mentioned 3 unbeatens left. We're gonna talk through and do a deep dive on them. Miami, Ohio, Nebraska, and Arizona. So, but first, let me kick it over. We're gonna talk through one of our sponsors here. Give them a big shout out, and we'll continue to roll with the episode. That last segment was brought to you by Reed Cuts. My boy, man, he gets everybody right. I got a beanie on. It's cold out, but my man knows how to cut. He knows how to cut hair, dude. If you're in the Columbia/St. Louis area, make sure you hit him up. I'm gonna drop his Instagram handle right here. Dude is a stud. One of my good friends from growing up. A guy that I've really gotten close with over the last, call it, 5 years or so. Been cutting my hair for since about then. He does a great job. Pays very attention to detail. Very delicate. He's great to have a conversation with. Just overall great dude. Dude's jacked. He gets in the gym, man. He wants to get you guys right, get you in and out at a great price. So if you're in the St. Louis area, Columbia, Illinois, I really recommend Reed Cuts. My man does it right. So big shout out to him. And we still need to work out that promo deal. We need to figure that out. I'll shoot you a text, brother. But yeah, Reed Cuts, dude's a stud. Miami, Nebraska, Arizona. They are still undefeated. Now, 3 teams. Which one of these guys are going to end up being the last undefeated team? I'll give you guys that answer after this segment. But first, let's dive into each one and just take a look under the hood of what's going on with each of these programs. Starting out with Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio, 19-0. It's the best start in team history. Had an absolute barn burner against the Buffalo Bulls. I almost put it on as a game of the week, in my opinion, or game of the weekend, but I didn't, just because I thought that they were going to roll at home. Buffalo ends up taking them to OT. Just complete wild finish, by the way. I'll play the highlights for y'all.
Valjet. Picked up the Suter. 5 seconds to go. Suter. Deep water 3 right side. Good! 105. 1.5 to go. And Brezzi from 3-quarter court misses. And Miami.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to clutch up like that is just a team of destiny, in my opinion. You don't see that very often from these mid-major schools. Um, just like how you don't see mid-majors are able to retain starters and guys from that had big time minutes from them last year. Six returners for the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. I think that's a huge key to why they've been so successful. Um, to be able to retain those dudes like that in this day and age of NIL and people almost using mid majors as a stepping stone to get to these Power Four, Power Five schools, just an incredible job by Travis Steele. I don't know what he's pitching to these guys, or I don't know what. I know two alums from there, and Big Ben. I mean, I don't know him personally, but you got Ben Roethlisberger and one of my good buddies, Brett Gabbert. I don't know if they're pitching NIL for hoops or what's going on there. But Travis Steele is doing a great job retaining his guys. I mean, Brant Byers and Eon Elmer, leading scorer and leading rebounder. I thought for sure that those dudes would be gone, or I was surprised to see that they stuck around. But they're developing players, man. They're winning ball games. They're doing very well in the MAC, of course. They should be an AP top 25 team. This is being recorded early Monday morning. So in a few hours here, I would think that the Miami Redhawks will be in the top 25, probably replacing Seton Hall, if I had to guess. Um, but yeah, their offense is just astounding. They're averaging 94 points a game, which is second in the country behind Georgia. Another MAC team's actually right behind them, which is interesting enough, in Akron. So Akron's right behind them, but averaging 94, which is incredible. They're doing it very, very efficiently. 52. They're shooting. I'm sorry. They're shooting 54% from the field, which is first in the country. They're 42nd in 3-point percentage, which is top three. So I mean, they're scoring at will. They run offense to perfection. They don't turn the ball over very much. I think they're averaging under 10 turnovers a game, I believe. It's incredible. Them and Nebraska both. I mean, you take care of the ball. You're able to value each possession that you get. You run your offense. You don't get rushed. It's just that's a recipe for success if you're one of these mid-major schools that doesn't have a guy like Darren Peterson or Cam Boozer or DeBonza, the guys that can just go get you a bucket at will. You got to be able to spread the love. You got to be able to play team basketball, and that's exactly what Miami's doing. I think they got four guys that are averaging double figures in points right now. Just incredible. Um, but yeah, like I mentioned before, Brant Byers, Eon Elmer, they're leading scorer, leading rebounder, doing that again this year for the Red Hawks. They're going to be favored in every game going forward throughout the MAC. I expect them to run the table. To be able to come back in the way that they did against Buffalo was just shows that they're a team of destiny, and I'm excited to see this team in the tournament. Even if they get bounced in the first round, I'm still excited to see what they do the rest of the season. So, uh, Miami Redhawks, I don't anticipate them losing. To be honest with you, even though conference play gets super wonky, and you're bound to have a poor shooting night. Miami has not had that yet, and but they're just a superior team in the MAC. They've already played Akron, who's the third highest scoring team in the country, and yeah, I mean they've already taken care of business there. I don't know where they're gonna end up slipping up. So Miami Ohio Redhawks, it's such a fun story to check out. It's so cool. Travis Steele is doing a great job. But the biggest thing for me is retaining pieces in this day and age. Um, even without kids just transferring to another school, it's incredible the culture that he's been able to build there, and it's really paying off for him. I mean, this team had a great year last year. Let me see what were they last year? They were 23-8, and you bring in most of your guys back. It's great, so great to see. So Miami, Ohio, they should be in the top 25. I expect nothing less. Second team, Nebraska. I love this team. Number 8, Nebraska. You're 18-0, off to your best start since 1965. Just imposing their will on teams. They're top 20 in assists. They're top 10 in turnovers per game. They've got a huge, huge matchup coming up at Michigan on January 27th. And then they go back to back. They got 27th against Michigan, and then they got Illinois coming to Lincoln. That place would be rocking for that one. But 18-0, their chemistry might be the best in the country, up there with Miami, Ohio. I think the Michigan game, that's probably gonna be a game that they lose. I don't know how they're gonna match up with Yaxel and Morez Johnson. Elliot Cadeau is just such a stud. Um, yeah, but who knows? I mean, defensive rating. This is where Nebraska gets interesting. We talk about the fundamentals and how they execute their offense super well, but they hang their hat defensively. And if you watch this team get after it on the defensive end, they are just so scrappy, and it totally shows in the numbers as well. Defensively, so defensive efficiency, they're 13th in the country with a 96.2 rating. I don't know what goes into that, if I'm being perfectly transparent with you guys, but it's such an improvement from where they were at last year. I think last year that number was over 100. So they've brought that down. They're 13th in the country in defensive efficiency. They're only allowing 65 points per game, which is 21st in the country. Could be top 20 when this episode actually ends up coming out. Ken Palm has them top 12 in defensive rating, and they're effective. This is where all the analytical stuff gets like kind of confusing for me, is effective defensive field goal percentage. Now, I don't know what the difference is between regular defensive field goal percentage and effective defensive field goal percentages. Just gets way into it. All I know is they're top 20 in it, 44.8%. Everybody else is shooting against them. So that's the recipe to success for Nebraska. And if you hear Fred Hoiberg talk about it in his press conference, he's always talking about defense. Hardly is he ever talking about offense. He's talking about how they fly around on defense, how they trap all the corners, how they're able to deny passing lanes. They're making other teams uncomfortable. Jeremy Fears in the Michigan State game he's taken such a big step this year in being a floor general that, at the end of the game, he had a chance to go up. I think it was either to tie it or to win it. And Nebraska made him so uncomfortable. He ended up doing something so uncharacteristic where he just dribbled the ball out of bounds that even the top point guards in the country don't know what to do with this kind of heat. So it's not to the level of Houston, but they still just they get after you. It's mesmerizing me to watch, just because they don't have the most athletic dudes out there. They don't have a star player. I mean, they have stars all across the board, but they don't have they're not going to have a top guy that gets drafted in the NBA. It's just they play a five-man basketball, schematic, strategic, however you want to go about it, way of doing things, and it's so fun to watch, and I love seeing that from a Big Ten team. It's cool to see, and you just hope that they can continue going. I think they're going to give Michigan some problems. I think they're really going to surprise Michigan in Ann Arbor. That place is going to be rocking. I'd pay a lot of money to go check that out, but don't think that's going to be in the stars for me. So Nebraska, if I do see them losing, I see them losing here to Michigan. I think they can take care of business against Illinois. I think Illinois hangs their hat too high on offense to be able to get enough stops against Nebraska defensively. So I think if they do lose, it's going to be at Michigan. If they don't, they will be sliding up in my next bracketology to a 1 seed, of course. Right now I have them as a 2, but Michigan at a 1. I think they end up sliding into a 1 spot if they end up beating Michigan. So, because Michigan is, I think they're either number 1 or number 2 right now in offense and defense. So they've just been a complete wagon. And if they don't let Wisconsin shoot and make 15 threes, they're the number 1 team in the country, in my opinion. But that's a topic for another day. I talked about it on a later episode, or an earlier episode. I'm sorry. So if you want to go check out my thoughts there, go check that. Last but certainly not least, Arizona. Arizona 18-0, rolling in the Big 12. I think they're 6-0 in Big 12 play. They're averaging 90 points per game, allowing only 69, so they're just blowing teams out. You have Koa Pete and Jaden Bradley. Saw a tweet that saying Jaden Bradley might be the most clutch player in the country, which I thought was interesting because Arizona really hasn't had a ton of close games this year. But it was something about like under 5 minutes or under 2 minutes left, like what his field goal percentage was. I'd have to go back and look. But Jaden Bradley's a rock star. You got Braden Burries, Koa Pete. They've got stars across the board. Tommy Lloyd's in year five now. I think that this team can definitely win it all. They have seem to have no holes on their team. They're top three in defensive rating according to Ken Palm, and then they're top five also in offensive rating as well. So I think this is going to be their first big matchup of the Big 12. A Big 12 conference play is going to be at BYU. That's all 126. I think that's next Saturday. Provo is going to be just popping off. And I'll be curious to see how Koa Pete matches up with AJ DeBonza. They're not going to be guarding each other, but just to see how those two freshmen, how they're able to compete with one another. The matchup within the matchup is going to be Rob Wright versus Jaden Bradley. That is going to be an elite guard matchup of two guys that can make an impact in the NBA next year. So I'll be tuning into that one. Faux show. Except I will be duck hunting again this weekend, but I'll find a way. I'll find a way to check it out. So Miami, Nebraska, Arizona. Who do I think is going to end up being the last undefeated team? Of course, it's going to be the Miami Redhawks. I think they're going to run the table. They've had such a special season already this year. I think that they run the table through the MAC and end up undefeated at the end of the season. So things gonna be like a Wichita State kind of deal, you know. Wichita State was undefeated whenever that was with Van Vliet and Baker and Clay Anthony Early, all that squad. Give me Miami, Ohio to run the table and go undefeated this year. Arizona, the Big 12 is way too strong for them to run. I'll be shocked if Nebraska and or Arizona ends up undefeated. They're bound to lose to one of these to these Big 10 or Big 12 opponents. So even though all three of them are just incredible to watch. So yes, that's our breakdown of our the three undefeated squads left. All three are great. Arizona has just got no holes. Nebraska, I'll be if they can walk into Michigan, man, and get a W. I'll have no other words. But yeah, so Hoiberg is great. Yeah, that would be so sick to see. But anyways, that's our three undefeated teams left. Let's dive into Iowa State here. Speaking of a team that was undefeated at the beginning of last week, now has 2 losses on their resume. Iowa State, they've lost 2 in a row. You lost at KU, where you got just absolutely mollywopped. And then you got to Cincinnati, thinking I figured that would have been a great bounce back game for them. To go walk into Cincinnati and beat the Bearcats up a little bit. Obviously wasn't the case. It ended up losing to Cincinnati. Now, notice both those games are on the road. I did a little bit of deep dive. I was like, man, what's going on with Iowa State? Why are they not? Why have they dropped these last 2 in a row? So, at home, they've had 13 home games. They average 90.3 points per game, 20 assists per game, 11 steals per game, and they shoot 53.3% from the field. Now, that's at Hilton. So that Hilton magic doesn't seem to travel with them on the road. So you go to look at their 5 road games, 73 points per game, 13 assists per game, 6 steals per game, and 43.6% field goal percentage. So everything just drops tremendously for the Cyclones. Now I understand you're not gonna shoot the ball well on the road. You're not gonna things just aren't gonna happen. Offensively, things don't translate over from home to on the road. But if you want to be a top 5 team, a team that can go into a full neutral site tournament and run the table, you can't have a drop off of 17 points per game. You can't can't be down that much. Steals down significantly from almost cut in half. That's one thing that really surprised me out of Iowa State was their defensive statistics really dropped. Now rebounding stayed the same, which is great. That's a good thing. If your rebound stayed stagnant, but steals dropped tremendously. You go from 11, almost 12 to 6. It just shows that you're not getting after it on defense. You're not making teams uncomfortable at home. Um, and to win in the Big 12, you've got to be able to walk into these environments and still, your defense has to get off the plane, and that hasn't happened the last two games for Iowa State. I mean, you go to KU and you get just completely embarrassed by a team that I don't even think is very good. I know they've got Darren Peterson, they got Trey White, but you have no business playing against and losing against Kansas like that, especially a 30-piece. Don't know what that was all about, but then you followed up against Cincinnati, who I don't even know what their record is in the Big 12, but you walk into Cincinnati I'm thinking, you can get right, and you lose. Like, you can't play every game at home. Got to figure out how to win these road games, or you're really gonna slide in the tournament from a seeding perspective. I still have them as I've got them as a 4 right now. I could totally see them sliding to like a 6, 7, 8 seed if they can't win on the road. So you get a rematch with KU at Hilton on February 14th. I would expect them to win by a large margin there. But yeah, I mean your turnovers are up as well. I think you went from, I believe, what it was, 9 turnovers a game to just over like 12, 13 turnovers a game for Iowa State. So you're not really taking care of the ball on the road, which you have to do. But Iowa State just may not be a great road team. And that's okay if you want to be average. That's okay. You've got to be able to go into these hostile environments and get W's. Kentucky was able to do it twice. I know LSU's not great, but tough place to play. And then you go into Knoxville and get a huge W. So they're wanting to turn their season around. But I know it's 2 different conferences. But you got to be able to walk into these, especially inferior opponents, and get W's. But Iowa State, they just may not be a great road team, and that's okay. That's not gonna win you a national championship. But at home, they're phenomenal. I wouldn't want to walk into Hilton Coliseum and play these guys, and they're just gonna beat the brakes off of you. But speaking of a team, let's flip gears and let's find a team that's going and shifting in the right direction, trending up. The Kentucky Wildcats. 3 in a row. You've won 3 in a row. You beat Mississippi State, who you should beat. LSU, who you should beat on that Malachi Moreno miracle shot. And then you go into Knoxville and you beat Tennessee. Not going to be a top 25 team anymore. Tennessee Volunteer team, you win 80-78. As I alluded to before, they've won 4 in a row in Knoxville. They were down 17, down and out. I was watching the game. Oh my God, this is just going to get completely out of hand for the Wildcats. Their season just down the drain. And then all of a sudden, Mark Pope, man, I don't know if I don't know what he said. I think part of it's Mark Pope saying something. I think the other part is Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Owe taking ownership of this team and showing them the winner's mentality that they have, because they've both proven that they can win at this level. Denzel Aberdeen did it at Florida. Whether I know he was the 6th man, but he did it at Florida, and Otega Owe did it last year for Kentucky. And they just imposed their will. They took care of the ball. They only had 9 turnovers, which is awesome to see. And they ended up storming a comeback. And you end up you're able to get a key turnover at the end of the game against Jacoby Gillespie. Nate Emmett, now he needed to do a much better job of breaking contact and getting open. You get a huge steal, get a great run out. And you hang your hat on defense. You get some stops. You get some baskets. You go on a little bit of a run. And you chip away at that deficit, end up coming out with a victory. Now, a few episodes back, I've been saying this all year. I think Kentucky is a terrifying team to go against. Do I think they're going to win the SEC? Absolutely not. No way. But in the tournament, if I see them as an 8 seed or a 7 seed, and they get past the first round there, if I'm a 1, 2, 3, 4 seed, I get nervous to play Kentucky, man, because they get hot from three. If they can get healthy, Jaden Lowe's going to be out, but you get Jaden Quaintance back, Colin Chandler, Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Owe, Malachi Moreno. That's a scary bunch, in my opinion. They have all the talent in the world, and I think this team is starting to build. They're starting to put some foundation down, build some blocks, build some confidence to get this season turned around. Now they have 2 games here: home against Texas and your home against Ole Miss coming up. Those should probably be 2 wins. And then you go to Vandy and to Arkansas. I don't see them winning either one of those games, but I don't know. You slowly build some confidence, and when you get some confidence in some of these guys, man, they turn into different animals, and that very easily could be the case for the Kentucky Wildcats here. Um, so you end up winning 5 in a row, going to Vandy, and who knows where Vandy ends up is ending up after this game against Arkansas, and then whoever they've got coming up. But you have 5 in a row going to Vandy. You maybe get an upset there. You probably don't walk into Fayetteville and get a win against your old coach. That's probably not going to happen. But I like where this Kentucky team is going. Do I have full faith that they're going to do it? No. But it's cool to see, and I'd be terrified if they end up sneaking into the tournament, and I wouldn't want to be playing them if I was one of these top 4 seeds, because they can beat you on any given night. So Kentucky getting back. Malachi Moreno might have turned the season around for Kentucky with that shot. I like Mark Pope. I think he does a great job as a coach. He's had a roster that's been completely banged up, no consistency, but he has all the talent on the roster, and I think he's making it work. He's just slowly getting confidence in these guys. And I love what he said after the Tennessee game. So I'll play it for you.
I think you have to earn, confidence. You don't just get it, right? You have to earn it. You got to go do the gritty, hard, miserable work of earning confidence, and you have to take the heat and take the hate. And these guys, all of us have had a lot of stuff cast on us for sure, and you got to look it straight in the eye and go earn it. And these guys are starting to earn their confidence. They're starting to earn it. They're starting to earn the fact that maybe things don't go perfect on a play or perfect in a 4-minute stretch or perfect in a half, but they're starting to earn their confidence through the hard, gritty work that they're doing, the refusal to give in to fatigue or frustration and just turn in a fight. They're earning the confidence they have, and it's a good feeling. And we got to go earn it again next week, and that's why this game and these seasons are so great.
And that's it right there. He's talking about the confidence piece, and I think this team just hasn't had confidence throughout this season. They've had some tough non-conference games to start the year off. None of them went their way. You get a big win against Indiana. You get a big win against St. John's. So it's looking, the future's looking bright right now for Kentucky. The door is not completely shut. So yeah, we'll move into the matchups of the week, man. Matchups of the week. Some matchups that I got my eye on. A lot of them are in the Big East. Big East is our Big East matchups. I've got Seton Hall at St. John's, DePaul at Butler, Xavier at Creighton. All three. The Big East is just so tight. Outside of UConn, all of these teams right here are fighting for tournament position. Seton Hall, of course, just got bounced in the top 25 after losing 2 in a row. They can go to St. John's and get a W. I think they play at the Garden. That would be a huge win for the Pirates. DePaul has won 3 in a row at home. Three home Big East games in a row for the first time since like 2003. Just shows where the DePaul program's been. But their coach is awesome. After their win against Marquette. Marquette's just terrible, by the way. But after the win against Marquette, he walked out to the bar. So play the video. He walked out to the bar and gave everybody a round of drinks for showing up, because they had a huge crowd for the DePaul game. So yeah, DePaul is kind of they're kind of it could be a scary team in the Big East. And again, like I said, the Big East is so tight that um, if they can win a few games, maybe win a couple games in the Big East tournament, maybe they're a tournament team. I don't, they're probably gonna be on the bubble if I had to guess, but you get some marquee wins and win a couple games in the tournament, you might be able to push yourself into the tournament and out of that bubble situation. Butler, same thing. They're both fighting for a bubble spot, in my opinion. So this is a huge bubble game. Uh, St. John's has just got to get it right. I know I'm kind of bouncing all over the place here, but Seton Hall against St. John's. Let's go back to that for a second. St. John's has just got to continue to build momentum. Again, another team that has all the talent in the world. They just got to build some confidence blocks as they go into the Big East tournament. So they're not going to catch UConn, nor will they ever beat UConn or be UConn, but that's another team that can be scary in the tournament if they get the ship going in the right direction. Xavier, Creighton, same dealio, fighting for a tournament spot. These guys are probably, I think both of these teams are not on the bubble. I think they're just ahead of the bubble. So again, this could be another bubble game where loser probably gets knocked down to that bubble category. But Xavier going to Creighton. Creighton, I know has had a huge disappointing season compared to where they were preseason for the top 25. But Creighton is continuing to get right back on the right track. They're I think 5-3 or 5-2, 5-3 in Big East right now. It's fourth or fifth. They're tied with a few other teams. Getting McDermott's got them going in the right direction here. This would be a huge win if they can beat Xavier, a team that's either tied with them or just behind them in the Big East standings. So Big East is tight. That's why I have a lot of the Big East games on my radar. It's also a super fun conference. If you have a chance to check out some of these games, man, they're so fun. None of them play in like huge arenas, so each game is packed, and every fan base is just super passionate about their squad. I love it. Each one that I've been able to tune into after work, I mean, they're typically on like Fox Sports at like 5:30 or so, but each one that I've gotten to check out it's just so exciting. Villanova is really, really solid. Of course, DePaul, Butler, Seton Hall, St. John's, UConn, Xavier, Creighton, Providence. I know that Providence doesn't have a great record, but they're an exciting team to watch. Kim English has those boys playing so hard. Georgetown and whatchamacallem is Marquette's bottom of the bracket. They're not competing for anything. But so yeah, Big East has a bunch of games there. Another huge marquee matchup, Purdue at UCLA. Now this is more of a bigger matchup for UCLA than it is Purdue. I think this is a season defining game for UCLA on where Mick Cronin wants this team to be going. I know where he wants it to go, but where this team may end up actually going for the rest of the season. Donovan Dent has a chance to really put his name out there for a first team All Big Ten, and I think really get UCLA's season kind of turned around. You get a matchup against Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. Purdue is just rolling right now. They just want to close one against USC, so they're finishing up their Cali trip with the trip to UCLA. But Purdue, I expect them to win this game. I need UCLA to be competitive and make it close, and Donovan Dent to have a big game to show that there's still signs of life for this Bruins team that's really underperformed expectations. So season defining game for UCLA. I know they're on the bubble right now. This would be a huge W if they can beat Purdue and knock them off for their tournament resume. Now, last but certainly not least, game that I'm going to be at on Tuesday night, Vandy at Arkansas. I think that this turned into a must-win for both teams here. Two teams that have lost over the weekend. Two teams that I expected to win over the weekend. I know two teams that wanted to win over the weekend. Now this turned into a huge matchup on Tuesday night. I think it's more of the must win is more of showing that you're not fraudulent. I don't think Arkansas is. Vandy, I didn't think they were, but now I've had second guesses about it. They've gone up against a against two teams here that imposed their will on them. The Florida game especially, and then they made it competitive, made it close at the end. I thought they were going to win it, but you drop one to the Gators where you probably should have won, probably could have won. Actually, you could have won, probably not should have, could have won. And then Arkansas loses to Georgia, where they just have gotten off to just horrible starts at the beginning of the games, and didn't have enough firepower to end up making the comeback to win. Came back and made it very, very tight. That score was a little bit misleading. The final score was a little bit misleading to how close it actually was. But this game turned into a must-win. Darius Acuff versus Tyler Tanner is going to be phenomenal to watch. Tyler Nickel against Malik Thomas, that freshman duo against the two Tylers of Vandy, gonna turn into a super fun one, and I'm very excited to check that out. Bud should be rocking 8 p.m. start. Very excited to go check that out. It's gonna be my first time watching Arkansas in person. Seeing Vandy in person would be cool as well. So yeah, those are my matchups this week. We'll talk through matchups of the weekend. Probably Thursday. I'll probably put an episode out. But yeah, check out my bracketology on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I appreciate everybody tuning in, subscribing. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Give me a like, give me a comment. Check it all out. On Twitter, on Instagram. Fasting from Instagram right now, so I'll be back active on that at the end of the month. But yeah, I appreciate everybody's support. Appreciate everybody checking in. Checking this episode out. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, give me a like, give me a comment. Let's interact a little bit. Give me a follow on Instagram, follow on Twitter. And we have a great matchup, a great week of hoops coming up. Very excited for it, and I appreciate everybody's support. So let's watch some hoops, man. Hopefully I'll get some ducks this weekend. Very excited for that. But yeah.